guys, Showstopper 414 here, coming at you with a Planetside 2 video. This will be the third installment of our Trials of War series. So, in our previous two videos, we talked about attacking and defending bases. But now we're going to move away from that and move into the more awkward teenage years of the game. And when I say this, of course I mean what happens between the two bases. So a lot of times when you're moving in between bases, you won't have large-scale fights like you will in a base. You'll usually end up with 2 or 3 infantrymen fighting each other, or maybe a lightning versus a lightning, small tank battles, stuff like that. But occasionally, you'll be that unlucky guy who happens to be running along the trail to the next base you're going to attack, and a heavy enemy tank comes running into you. So, you ask, well, what do I do? Well, this is what this video is going to cover. We're going to be talking about how you can take down those big bad enemy tanks just using your infantry soldier. So, as previously mentioned, when you're going up against some enemy armor, you have the odds stacked against you, very much so. They have more health, they have more firepower. What they do not have is they are not as maneuverable as you, and they can't hide like you can. So, the main thing when fighting a tank, especially when you don't have heavy reinforcements, is stay out of head-to-head combat. Like you saw earlier in this video, I used cover effectively. But the thing was here is that I had heavy armor support that was helping me. This allowed me to concentrate more on their vehicles, allowed me to play more of a support instead of a more aggressive, I'm the only one attacking this vehicle type role. So usually you're going to want to avoid head-on confrontation. To avoid head-on confrontation, you have to use the two things that are in your advantage. Your maneuverability and your size. So, what you're going to want to do is use whatever the Araxian wilderness allows you to take. If it's a glacier, a tree, a rock, whatever it is, hide behind it. Preferably before the big bad tank sees you. So if you're able to get into one of these covers, you'll not only stand a fighting chance of taking that tank down, but you'll also waste its time trying to root around for it. Another thing is, if you're just totally outgunned and all you have is your rocket launcher and you're trying to fight a heavy tank, just hide, let the tank pass over you, continue on with your day. Some teammates and some heavy armor will pick it up in the wash coming from the other base. So today our real-life connection is going to be called Operation Goodwood. Operation Goodwood was an offensive by the British Royal Military against the Germans in World War II. What was interesting about this operation is that anti-tank guns played a very large role. It allowed lesser tanks to be able to take out much larger and more heavily armored tanks of the Germans. So what we can take from this and apply to Planetside is that teamwork is going to be key. Whether if that's working with your squad or working with some armor that's moving in, you're going to have to know to play your role. So a quick guide over roles is that the 3 classes you're going to be wanting to be playing as is the Heavy Assault, the Engineer, and the Light Assault. The Heavy Assault, of course, can bring rockets into the fight, which damage vehicles immensely, and the Engineer and the Light Assault can bring a C4, which can quickly turn the tide of a battle. So what you're going to want to do when fighting these vehicles as a team is focus fire on a specific vehicle. It's better to have 1 dead tank and 2 full health ones than 3 half health tanks that an engineer can come, repair, and go on his way with. Speaking about engineers, use the other 2 classes, don't think I forgot about you infiltrators and medics, to take out engineers who are repairing the enemy tanks. This is a very important part, and it really doesn't matter how much firepower you put on the enemy armor. If an engineer can repair it all, it's not worth your ammo. So, like you see in this gameplay, we got kind of caught in an unusual circumstance. We're in a very small choke point with lots of armor clashing. So while the armor is very important, it's the infantry that's really going to decide this battle and its outcome. Our infantry was able to support our tanks better by taking out the armor, and in return our armor column helps move in to deal with the rest of the remaining infantry. But one thing to remember is that if you have these Sundies up that are helping you support your tanks, move the Sundies up. If the Sundies stay back, they're going to ruin your whole offensive from there. Just move them up, destroy them, whatever. Just make sure they're not sitting back there. These people are going to die and they're going to get spawned back there, and it's just going to ruin your whole offensive. So the last part I'd like to talk about is kind of the vehicle infantry hybrid. I didn't know quite where to place this thing, so I thought I might as well talk about it. And of course what I'm referencing is maxes. So maxes are kind of controversial in the game because of their versatility and overall power. And trust me when I say these things can pack a punch if you spec them correctly. So I just want to go over real quickly how you can use maxes to take out vehicles and how you can take out maxes. So just like a vehicle, a max is not as maneuverable as you, but has more health and more firepower. But the problem is the max is a little bit better at rooting out infantry in tight corners than, let's say, a lightning tank. So you are going to either have to be really sneaky or bring a team. So maxes are really tough, especially if they have, let's say, even the base shotgun and rocket launcher. They're effective against vehicles and infantry, so it's tough to really get a counter against them. So it's really, just like taking out a vehicle, a team effort. He can't take all of you, move around him, surprise him, use your mobility against him. And of course, when you're using maxes, spec it correctly. Make sure that if you're going against heavy armor, get your either guided missiles or your anti-tank weaponry, and if you're going against aircraft, equip your burster cannon. And one thing that most people do not know is that all maxes from the very beginning, from the second you log into the game, level 1, you can equip anti-air cannon to your max. So, when you're dealing with air vehicles, don't be afraid to whip out that max, equip that burster cannon, and start taking down the enemy. That's a common misconception that a lot of people don't realize, is that you have easy anti-air access right from your Sunder. So, to wrap it all up, remember, you want to not face armor head-on unless you have heavy armor support of your own. Use your quickness and your size, being able to be spotted less easily, to your advantage. Remember Operation Goodwood, and that you have a role to play. Don't try to be the hero and run up and take out a tank by yourself if it's just going to end up ending with you killed. Use your heavy assaults that are going to be your main attackers with their rockets, but if you can get a light assault or an engineer in there to quickly end a battle, do it. Speaking about the engineers, focus fire on them because they are going to be able to keep the enemy armor alive, and that's not good. Also, focus fire on main enemy armor as a team. Remember, it's better to take out one than take out none. And finally, if you find that the odds are just not in your favor this battle, don't be afraid to run and hide. There's a reason they put all these trees and boulders everywhere, and that's for you to use them. Also, remember, maxes are vehicles too. Use force and focus fire on them, especially when they can come and wreck your face quite easily. Also, use maxes to efficiently take out maxes and other vehicles. But remember, a lot of times, certs are going to be needed to use these things. Thanks, Showstopper out.